right, from map number 1, but I'm sure in map 2 and onwards, we're going to be seeing quite a bit of them.
Well, speaking of map 2, let's get into the game here, Taylor. It's time. Map number 2, again, only 6 maps, so everybody's got to lock in. They need to play the best Warzone that they can, the best Vandal that they can. Little room for error, and I was taking a look at back some of the scores that were reported. Again, it's all manually reported here, Taylor. So as I was looking at some of these scores, I mean, there were a lot of 2-point games, 3-point games, you know, even 0-point games, and there's way less room for error when not only are we playing 6, but also you're playing against some of the best Warzone competitors in the world, right? And to your point, even people like Vio, like our military service members, it's not like they're just coming in having a good time. These are competitors. Some of them had to earn their place here as well. Shout out to the regiment boys, right? Like they won that RØKKR regiment tournament. They earned their spot here. Even some of our military branches had kind of qualifiers to get to this place.
Yeah, it is.
That's right. It's intense. Some of these military branches, they take it very seriously on their esports division. I mean, come on, you want the best of the best representing your branch, okay? Or representing your org, like regiment, for example. So you have quite a few competitions taking place internally before they even reach this point. So you truly are looking at the best of the best competing. And I love that. I mean, that's what you want to see as a competitor. Now, talking about competitors, murked by Huskerrs. She is so good at this game. And she's playing with the previous winner of Taj, representing the Army. Love this team. Can't wait to see how far they go.
Yeah, and again, you know, we talked a lot about this in the draft. If you want to hear more of our perspective on the players in particular, you can head back and watch that VOD. It was a ton of fun to go through them all. But Taj won the last 2 combat cups. Now, of course, that was over a year ago. The last 2 combat cups happened, I believe, back in, I think it was June, and then the one before that was like April. These events were super, super tight, but Taj won those with other Warzone influencers. So if he could potentially go on paper back to back, that would be an incredible feat. Now, I didn't see him in the end game of the last map here, Taylor, but they are pushing the equation a little bit, and anytime you can grab any sort of information, you certainly want to be able to do that. So whether that's strongholds or otherwise, of course, big BR, that's great, but UAVs here, you know, gotta play around these buy stations. Every time we swap perspectives, it's always a team near a buy station.
Soka and Frizzy. So Marine Corps Echo, love it. The Marines always bringing that fire. I love to trash talk them. I'm sure gonna have plenty of opportunities to do so. I feel bad every code boat. They're always getting the short end of the stick, man. But they can take it because they're always bigger than me. And there was some massive guys over there. And Soka's a big guy too. So love watching them compete. But here we go. Already some troubles. Brolic and Code's gonna be heading over towards the Gulag. Who's gonna take the W?
This is Brolic versus DJ Moss, by the way.
Oh, no.
This is a nasty 1v1, and honestly, Vandal Gulag is one of my favorites, you know, reminiscent of the OG, obviously Showers from Verdansk, so a lot of nostalgia today, but DJ Moss making it look easy, baits out the play to the left, zoning off the right with the grenade, predicts it perfectly, finds the elimination, Brolic out of it. Team not done yet, though. We'll see. Only 2 teams have been eliminated thus far, but Taylor, we just got started, so if you're one of those 2 teams, you gotta rally back. You gotta put on for your military branch, you gotta put on for your friends, your fans, maybe. I know some of our military service members are content creators in their own right, so you know, time to show up. 2 maps in, you're already done. Get involved. Another 1v1. Almond should win it and does, but just barely.
Yeah, just barely. Grand Poobah putting up a wonderful fight representing the Coast Guard. It was Coast Guard versus Navy there, and Navy ends up ahead. So for all the Navy supporters out there, you can breathe a sigh of relief. For Coasties, well, you're going to have to step it up a bit, Grand Poobah. We'll see if he'll come back into the mix. Ken Rosie's going to have to carry the torch if they can. Super Revan going against Stud Manny, who we were seeing off the rip a little bit earlier, now trying to fight for his life. Stud Manny representing Regiment Charlie over there with Empathy, our Game 1 winners, and Super Evan takes a little bit of damage, but stays steady and takes the W.
Talk about composure. Going into that final push there, 75% health is nerve-wracking, except, you know, if you're Super Evan, you've been here 1,000 times, and you'll be here 1,000 more times. Played it perfectly, got a couple ticks of damage with that incendiary nade, and because of that was able to push up effectively and say, I think I've got the health advantage, and wins it with the eco chow. Very well done. But back to 4 and Jason Tones here, Taylor. High ground position as well, and some more snipers coming into play, seemingly people learning from flanked.
That's right. Snipers are incredibly important. You have a lot of open spaces, as I've said, especially towards end zone, but more specifically here too. You get on a rooftop, you can see a ton of the map. No pun intended, the tons playing on this roster. We're looking at Air Force Echo, though. Air Force looking very talented today. They're looking to take the victory as a branch, but of course, it comes down to the duos if you want to try and take the $4,000 first place prize. A lot of money, and we have that MVP to talk about too, which we will potentially a little bit later. But either way, kind of quiet. They're just sniping out. We'll head over to some action. And Adrian, the young gun himself, who made a big impact this year in the World Series of Warzone, isn't backing down. He's going for the push.
Yeah, I like this. Adrian loves to play hyper-aggressive, and he's doing it. Getting shot in the back, though, that's the classic third party, especially in Vondel. You got to be aware of that. Hopefully his teammate nearby able to get the immediate buyback as FIFA grabs, well, what looked like an easy kill, but a lot of stress there, because if he goes down, he is out of it. Again, this is duos. This is BR on Vondel, not Resurgence. That's why you're seeing that gulag, and we're already down to 24 teams, about to enter into that 1.1 times multiplier. So much we could talk about when it comes to Vondel. So much we could talk about when it comes to BR here, Taylor, but the more and more we get into the minutia of the players and their backstories, all of a sudden we're looking up and a third of the lobby's been eliminated and the action's just non-stop hot.
Speaking of, the history you just mentioned, that was Taj against FIFA Kill. Taj loses the fight. FIFA moves forward. Now we're on board with Merc by a Skirt, who is Taj's teammate, who is, has a tall order. I'm trying to get Taj back into play. A buy station just up ahead. She's making her way towards it. But, things are going to be tense from this point forward, unless she can get Taj back in. Buy is through, and Taj comes back. Well done, Merc by a Skirt.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. I'm not surprised she got the res. I'm kind of surprised she got the res and was not shot at all. Oftentimes,
right,
there's teams like that hang out, especially inside of zone here, near edge of zone, like to hang out on some of these exterior buildings, maintain rooftop positions, looking at buy stations. Right when that flare goes off, you'll get snapped on. It happens every single time, and hopefully, and it does sound like they're doing this, Taj is able to grab actually some information out of the air. We call that almost like a little, personal UAV of some sort, right? Like you're floating back in, you got your parachute on. Some people even change their field of view to get a better view of down below. Maybe not so much in Vondel, but great pick. COD timing working out for Merc. Can you get the elimination? Should be able to. Pushes the fight and grabs the elimination. What I just described, I thought would happen to Merc by a Skirt, happened to Breakaway, right? Pushes the buy station, gets shot in the meantime, but is able to grab the buy off really quickly, but loses his life for it. So sometimes that's a decent trade if you're in a blender, if you're on the ground, and maybe that buyback will allow your teammate to rotate to a different side of the map. But regardless, a little bit of foresight and then executed there by Merc by a Skirt.
Yeah, well done from Merc by a Skirt. And just to go back to your original point, you were surprised she was able to get Taj back in, right? Normally people are camping those buy stations. Maybe Merc by a Skirt is going to take that, page out of your playbook and kind of do that. And I think that's a smart play. You've got, especially when teams start to get desperate, we're now down to 20 duos remaining. Those buy stations are going to be popular. You might be able to have enemies come into you, and then you'll feed off of that, and then be even better with your multiplier at the end. Now, this is a competitor. Does his best. 2 eliminations, what he finishes with. His teammate was dead, so that team is now going to be eliminated, and we have 19 remaining, but a good effort nonetheless.
Yeah, it's coming on the other side. You can't be too mad about it. You're a little bit weak, and you lose the gunfight, but only by a little bit. Scumming feels good. Taking down Noobs, another massive Warzone competitor, off the map. And another point added to your tally. Again, with our multipliers, it's only a 1.5 times multiplier for the win and a 1.3 times multiplier for top 8 teams. That's kind of what you're going for. But our metric of success today, at least in the first map, and what we expect to be the metric of success going forward, is double-digit eliminations. If you can do that every map, you're going to find yourself at the top of the leaderboard. Soka vying for his third. Double-digit eliminations as a team is difficult, but not an impossible task. Great team shots here to grab a knock from distance, Taylor. They can't really push to go clean that up, and I think Frizzy was able to clean it up, but they don't really want to move from this spot. They've got a nice position inside of zone, and another team inside of zone, but just barely. Rollick grabs one, but gets traded out.
Same kid.
It gets traded out, but Brolic still has the gulag, so good news for them. And you're right, sometimes pushing to get the finish isn't worth it because you want to maintain these rooftops. Rooftops dominate in Vondel. You give that up, and now you got the low ground, and who knows who's going to be shooting at you. So I think that was a smart play from the last duo, staying on top of the roof, not making the push, and just take your time. There's going to be plenty of opportunities, especially when things get chaotic towards the end zones, where you're going to have a chance to get those picks off the solos, or those duos are going to be rotating out in the open, especially if they don't have smokes. We're going to see that new zone pop up in just a couple of seconds, 10 to be exact, and we'll see if Empathy and Co. is going to have to rotate out. They had a bit of a rocky start, but they stay alive. Stud Manny was taken down into gulag, but obviously he's back. They're looking to go back to back, and that would be a special thing for them to do.
Yeah, right. I mean, keep your eyes on that. I know our observers are going to keep eyes on them as well, especially as you get into late game. We've already found, oh, well, speaking of eyes, there's a lot of eyes on FIFA Kill. Watch out. Spots from above. Great teamwork there. Rog with the comms. Unfortunately, Rog gets pushed as well. Couple people nearby, but FIFA was able to clean up maybe one. On 5 currently, but I was going to say Stud Manny and Empathy are on 6 eliminations, which is a perfect spot to be in. FIFA Kill is there as well, right? When you're finding yourself at 6, 5, 6, 7, maybe right around this point with the gulag closing, you're gonna find 4 or 5 in the end game if you make it to the top 5. You just are. So anywhere in that 5 to 6 eliminations range, you're feeling fantastic about your spot. Now it's time to play positioning, play for top 8, and find a couple of elims along the way. You got a UAV like you do here with FIFA. Feeling pretty good because you've got some information, but what do you do with it? Good luck from FIFA on the 1v2. Certainly possible, but going to Huskerrs, finds himself with his teammate. Only 1 elimination to speak of, but in a pretty good spot as well here on Edge Zone.
Huskerrs play with Cryo. That's going to be Marine Corps Delta representing. Marine Corps is looking relatively strong today, I would have to say. Looking great. Their aggression is in, but they're also playing passive when they need to. And again, for Huskerrs and Cryo on top of the roof, not wanting to give up that position. They're well within the zone, so they're looking healthy at the moment. I did see a laser come by, so I think there's going to be a team just off to the south that they were looking at. But for now, they're really focused on what's down low. We saw FIFA, not necessarily in this area, crouching, playing it slow. He had that UAV, had the information. When you go down these narrow stairways, you never know if someone's going to be waiting for you. So sometimes you just got to face it head on, take it as a duo, potentially take out a solo who's going to be camping it up. For the meantime, though, I think they're playing for the next zone if they can. They see it. It's not too far away, but unfortunately, there's not a lot of hard cover up ahead of them.
Yeah, this is an interesting zone. Yeah, I was going to say there's going to be a lot of teams that are rotating early here to try to grab these buildings on outside of zone. The building basically that Huskerrs is in on this side is the best spot to be in. If you go in at this point, if you go early, you're going to find yourself in a much better position because everybody rotating into this zone is going to be looking for this one building right here. Huskerrs goes first, doesn't get shot in the back, works out perfectly. They've got to win this POI if they want a chance to do well in this final circle. There's so much open cover on this side of the river. You've got to execute the team, and it is Merc by a skirt here. They do find the elimination. Now we hold down the building, and you hear it from Huskerrs. He said, let's hold this down. We'll see if there's a couple teams trying to rotate and try to kind of answer back against this duo. They should be able to hold this graveyard for basically until the final couple circles. Potentially the final circle, depending on the zone here, Taylor, could hold it all the way to top 5.
That was, like you said, Merc by a skirt. That was team eliminated, so Taj must have fell whenever we switched off from their position. Taj was able to get back into play. Merc by a skirt making a beautiful play onto the buy station, camping it for a bit, but they will finish at least top 15. That's going to be at least 1.2x multipliers, so they barely make that cutoff. But in the meantime, like I said, Huskerrs Cryo is going to be the main talking point. They do have the bounty on Quay. Quay also with that Fizz clan tag, by the way. Rest in peace, Fizzer. Was a wonderful player back in the day. They do a special charity tournament every single year for him, so love that he's still being remembered. He was incredible. But where do they go from here? Honestly, they don't really need to go anywhere. They get blessed by the zone, so this is a perfect opportunity for Huskerrs and Cryo to have a phenomenal finish.
Yeah, they've got to hold the back end, though. There's going to be 3-4 teams potentially coming in from this backside. They've got a sliver of zone inside the building where they've got a couple windows that can peek out to the river. There's a couple players rotating in. This is what we were talking about. Now, they've been holding this position well. They're likely going to find their way into the top 5. The question is, how many eliminations do they have? Huskerrs is only on 1. Placement is good, but it's not everything in this stage of the game. It's not Resurgence, it's Vandal. There's only 33 teams, 66 players, 1.5 times multiplier for the top. Okay. I mean, 1.5, the classic saying is 1.5 times 1. It's only 1.5 points. That's not enough. So find some eliminations. There you go. Noob somehow got back into the map. Fallen again. Hopefully grabs that
I guess not. Yeah, here.
Full, and I think that team wipe did come through. They're into top 5, just like we predicted, Taylor. The question is, what can they do from here as the zone pulls across the river?
Oh, I think they can do a lot, even though they didn't have a lot. Like you said, the multiplier might not matter. I think this is where they're going to pick up the bulk of their eliminations, but they got to keep their head on a swivel. And a good turnaround from Huskerrs, but he falls. Cryo now has to be the hero, and he will. If he won't be the hero, Aydan takes him down. So Cryo, Huskerrs, we followed them for so long. Question, how would they do in in-game? Well, they fall. I think 4 eliminations is where they're going to finish. But now you have Aydan ready, might be getting back in. He will. Aydan gets the res. That is incredible, to say the least. You got 3 duos remaining. Aydan's in. Now, if I'm ready, I'm staying in the air. I'm getting the callouts. I'm being that personal UAV as much as I can for Aydan, because Aydan has the ability to pop off and clutch up. Now he's going to be last alive. He's got the self-res. Can he pop it off?
That's the moment you're like, oh, maybe we just don't play enough Vandal, right? Like, that one card being wall bangable is tough. Now, did get the res off, but it just got to float and try to survive. Reddy was able to grab the top of the rooftops. That was Destroy, able to grab that elimination, but this is going to be a 1v2 at the end. I think Aydan was basically saying it is Destroy and Boomunka, the last 2, by the way. They grabbed the win because Aydan said, don't even give them the kill. That's 1.5 points for their leaderboard. Just go die to gas. So congratulations, Boomunka on top. Earned his spot, talked to Taylor about it, and earned his spot near the top of the leaderboard, likely with a win under his belt.
Dude, so that's big. And now, granted, we were watching the spectator perspective on Boomunka and Destroy, but I saw an 11 at the top right, and when they finished off. So is that 11 for both? Is that 11 for one? I don't know. I'm not even going to try and speculate, but that's a lot of eliminations, especially with the 1.5x multiplier. And given that we saw a very strong game and a good finish, I think, for Flanked and Rico, who had 11 themselves, that leaderboard, right, first place, especially top 3, it's starting to get tight and get competitive. We haven't seen the standings yet, but Goj, I already know top 5 right now, they're going to be close, and we're going to see a pretty high score line.
Yeah, we can take a look back at some of these replays here. Obviously, clutch moments in the gulag. We love showing gulags on main stage, especially in a lot of events, but this one in particular, it's duos. There's so little room for error. You've got to win your ones. Sometimes it's 1v2s, and this is a moment where Huskerrs was able to find one from distance, but right after that, Aydan goes big and wins the 1v2 against them, right? It was Huskerrs and Cryo, and they just didn't have enough firepower to hit through the smoke and take Aydan down.